notches all around the very, very curvy spots so that it's all going to turn nicely for us. So let's turn it. I'm going to take this little device, but you can take whatever you have that is pointy but not so pointy that it'll cut through the material, and poke that corner out so that it looks nice. And do it on the other one also. And of course we're going to take it to the iron and press it now. Look how beautifully that turns out now. Because we notched all the way around these really curvy spots, that turns out just really nice. Alright, here we have our bodice piece, and here we have our sleeves. Remember, they're already hemmed and everything because we doubled them right over. What we're going to do is take the very center of that. I'm going to turn it up like this. The very center, we're going to line up with that center seam right there. And I'm going to pin it in place right there. Okay, then we're going to take this edge piece and we're going to pin it right here at that edge. Show you again. Take this edge piece and we're going to take it all the way over here and we're going to pin it at that edge. Okay, now let me show you. See, there's your sleeve. It's going to be on like that. We're going to open it up though, because what we want to do is push this down right along the raw edges together, leaving a good finger space in here. We're going to pin that in place right there. Now, up to this point, we want this smooth. Smooth along here, finger space flap right there. That's going to be right at your shoulder. Do the same thing on the other side. We want it smooth along here, a good finger space here. And pin that in place. Let me make sure I show you. I want to make sure that you get this part. This is our sleeve. And see, we have our edges pinned together. And it comes up smooth. We have a flap here. And we have a flap here, and then it's smooth again all the way to the edge. What we're going to do is we're going to straight stitch this all the way to here, and then we're going to finger gather, it's called, this part here. So we're going to have a really cute little puff sleeve on our doll dresses. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, now lining this up with the edge of that presser foot is just going to be too much of a seam allowance. So I am going to have to line it up with the 1/4 inch that is way up here. And what that is pretty much is that middle line right on your presser foot. I'm going to lower my presser foot. I'm going to lower my needle. I'm going to stitch forward and then reverse, and I'm going to go nice and slowly because I don't want to make any mistakes here. Right along the smooth part of that sleeve. Stopping to take out the pins. Alright, ladies and girls, this is the tricky part. I'm going to lift this presser foot and I'm going to press these little pleats in place, just like that with my fingers. Lowering that again, and I'm going to stitch right over those. Remove that center pin, and again, I'm going to lift this up with my needle down, lifting this up, and taking that flap that was there, and I'm simply pressing it down, causing little gathers. Putting my presser foot down, I sew forward. See, that really wasn't that hard. I'm going to take that pin out, and now all I have to do is sew along that smooth part all the way to the end. And you'll see what an adorable little sleeve this makes. Put that sleeve on. We've sewn straight here. We pressed those little pleats in place, and then we went straight again. Let me show you what it looks like. Isn't that adorable? Now your dolls are going to have very sweet little puff sleeves. All right, now I'm going to show you what it looks like with our sleeves put on. And see, these are going to be just really adorable sleeves. Nice little puffy up here. Very nice. But what I want you to do now is I want you to open it back up inside out like this. And I want you to, what we call finishing the seam. What I would like you to do is to go back to your machine and put it on the zigzag stitch, and right along the very edge we're going to zigzag this. We want to make that a nice solid seam along there. So let's go to the machine. Okay, now right along the very edge we're just using the zigzag stitch just to finish that seam right along that raw edge here. If you have the luxury of having access to a serger, you'll probably want to serge that instead along there. So I'll do the very same thing to the other side. Have it. Now what I'm going to do is take it inside out, and I'm going to put our sleeves and our bodice together on their sides. I'm going to line up that seam, that underarm seam right there, and I'm going to pin it in place. What I've done is I've pinned right along the underarm and then the side seam right there. And we're going to take this piece and we're going to stitch a straight stitch at a little bit over 1/4 inch, straight up, pivot, and straight out, just like that. Then we'll come back and we'll zigzag stitch to finish that seam. Needle down position. I start that seam, stop, and I reverse it. I've got my material lined up with the with the presser foot. I'm going to come right up, and as soon as I hit that seam with the needle down position, I'm going to raise the presser foot and I'm going to pivot. And I'm going to sew right on out. Stop, and I'm going to reverse, and I'm going to lock that seam in place. Alright, with my needle in the needle down position, I'm going to zigzag right along that raw edge. Back up, and go right along that raw edge. Pivot, and finish that seam. And there we have a really nice secure seam for that underarm. Here's our bodice and our sleeves nicely put on. Isn't that so cute? Now we get to go to our skirt. I'm going to set this aside a little bit here. I'm going to lay our skirt out. And let me show you here. Remember, we have the one piece that we laid on the fold, and then we have these two pieces that we cut separately. What we're going to do now is we're going to go back to the machine and we're going to straight stitch at a little over 1/4 of an inch right along here, and then we're going to come back, we're going to zigzag stitch to secure that. We're going to do that on this side and on this side, but first I'm going to pin it in place so we don't slip all over the place here. Alright, with our needle in the needle down position, I'm going to start our stitch, and I'm going to reverse, and then I'm going to go right along, and I've got that lined up right with the edge of that presser foot. Alright, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to zigzag stitch that. And zigzag, reverse. And again, my reason for this is just to finish the edge of that seam. Alright, so now as you can see, I did my straight stitch right along here, and then I finished that seam by coming right along the edge and zigzagging. Keep it from fraying and give it a nice secure seam right there. Okay, we're going to come back, we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Alright, now we've sewn these two side seams, and our back we've left open, of course. Let me show you, I'm going to just like this, and we're going to take right sides together. Now, it's going to be hard to tell, so you have to make sure. Here's your seam, that's that raw seam, and we're going to place seam to seam. So our right side's this out here. We're going to put seam to seam. We're going to pin that in place. Over here, lining that up. One right in the middle, just in case our material wants to wiggle around while we're sewing. Now I'm taking this over to the side here, and just like before, we're going to have an overlap. And over to this side, we're going to have an overlap over here also. What we're going to do is we're going to take this to the machine, and we're going to straight stitch, then we're going to come back and zigzag to finish that seam. And that's how we're going to secure our little bodice onto our skirt. Okay, so let's take that to the machine. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a needle, nice big needle, and thread double. What we're going to do is we're going to needle gather this. Now let me show you what I mean by that. I'm going to start over about right here, and I'm going to just start pushing that through in and out like this. I've got that nice and secured. And what we're going to do is we're going to go all the way along the top of this, and this is how we are going to gather, because when we go back to the dress, then to the bodice, see, we'll be able to pull that and have a beautiful gather all the way along the waistband. So this is a very wonderful, simple way to gather. Now your stitch length doesn't need to be perfect. I'm just going in and out and in and out, and pulling it through every once in a while. And here it is. I'm going to stop right at the end here. I'm going to stop just a little bit away from the end, pull it on through, and there you have it.